Hello! Hello! Welcome to Rhyme and Reason at Bowles Yard. So the standard stuff, fire exit that way, back where you came, lose, back where you came, then left rather than going out the front door. We have a policy, if you're talking during the performances and it's not appropriate, because occasionally there's a bit of audience participation and we know this, but if it's not appropriate we'll give you a warning, and then if you do it again, we'll kick your butt out of here. Very aggressively, I promise.
Today I slaved away on the very lovely questionnaires that are on your seat. So could you please just fill in those and hand them in at the bar when you're done with them, please? And if you fill them out nicely, we get first in our module. So I'm just letting you know.
And for the performers, a quick note: this is being filmed, but it's only for use in our write-up for this project. And if you're not happy with being filmed, let us know afterwards and we won't use you in the project. / turn off the camera as it's going. So just let us know quite when the air. Done. Oh, and we're changing format.
Changing format today. I mean, not that I'm bitter about my performers not turning up on time, but I always do a running list and it always gets crossed out and then more names added. So I've got a hat today. And we'll just pick names out there, so deal with it.
It's our show.
Yeah. I'll do what I want.
Go.
Okay.
Go. I'll escape.
First we have Jack Timman.
Do you know what? I could have predicted that. I could put a 5 on that. But hello.
Hi.
Now I want to apologise. It's the first time I've done this, but you know, needs must. Right, it's the school I come from. I come from hard knocks and unheard cries for help, silent teachers and school halls that were battlegrounds with a bully blocking every exit. I come from sleepy village life on the fringes of a metropolis, waking up and staring at green farmland, the sound of the main road a reminder that money and progress is the priority in society. I come from alienation, being an outsider looking in with music and murder mysteries for company. I come from borrowed biros and beat up notebooks filled with rhyming lines inspired by angst of My Chemical Romance. I come from writing poetry instead of GCSE essays to try and stop the swirling darkness in my head. I come from a house built from little white lies and anger management failures. From growing up being told I'm worthless whilst trying to find a way out, still feeling so small and feeble despite being my sister's protector. I come from falling in love with the wrong girl, thinking she was the shit I wanted to be knee deep in. I come from a closet door, left slightly ajar, waiting for me to kick the fucking thing open and walk out holding my boyfriend's hand. I come from keeping my head down in classes and passing my courses. From unrequited crushes and finding love in my polar opposite. From knowing that knowledge is for everyone and wanting to pass mine on via the classroom. I come from finding my own beliefs and not listening when people told me I was wrong, shouting obscenities in my face. I come from turning the other cheek and staying true to what I knew and who I am. I come from the blacks and blues of playground bruises, the reds and greens of marked essays, the golds of long nights and longer hangovers, the rainbow of equality. I am a canvas, painted in all different shades, that can never be accused of being just one colour. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right. Hat. Exciting. Oh, no, that's blank. Blank. We've come prepared with blank paper. The Invisible Man's performing. No, silly. Next up is the brilliant Billy Studley.
almost there. So if you've seen me before, I get a little bit angry sometimes. Seemingly only in my poetry, I'm quite nice, usually. And this one's just me getting really angry at a certain song. Blurred lines, I know you want it. No, I really don't, and let me just stop you right there. There's no such thing as a blurred fucking line. Consent is not a stain that your grubby hand can smudge. And if a girl says no, don't hold a grudge. You can't just jump over it, because you know that you want it. And honey, with that attitude, you ain't gonna get it. As an educated woman, I know that rubbing dick probably has a tiny prick. And it rocks me to the core that a song about date rape can sell 1 million records, maybe more. It's not right that these ideas still exist, when men with these thoughts should be on some kind of list. We should teach women not to cover every inch, so there's nothing more for a greedy man to pinch. We should teach boys to treat women as equals and not disposable toys. I'm sure that nobody here has this inclination, but just in case, I'm going to hit you with some information. My red lips are not a coy plea. My tits are not telling you that I agree. My big, beautiful ass is not an invitation to your ghastly penetration. Stop means no. Please don't means no. No, no, no. Okay means no. And you wouldn't have guessed it, but no means no. She's not asking for it if she's drunk, or if she's asleep, or if she's crying, or if she's not saying anything at all. You might be the creepy guy on the internet, and I'm going to hedge every bet that when you force on me your nude Snapchats, it's not going to make me want to tap that. My body is mine to do as I please, and I want to walk around in my pants without being called a tease. So the lesson today, boys and girls, is consensual sex are our 2 favourite words. Thank you.
I just want to try and run on the stage, but then it makes a huge noise, like I'm an elephant. We're going to have to make a bit more noise tonight because we're a bit thin on the ground.
We should be angry, not sad.
Yeah. I do dissertations. But our next poet is.
We should have a designated drum roller for these bits.
Yeah. Oh,
Thank you, audience.
none of you saw this earlier, but when JP got back, he said he took the piece of paper
Secret.
and he ate it. He spat it out, but tried to eat it.
Is that proof? Actually, them being gone is proof, I think.
I've got a name here, but I don't think she's here. Is Chloe here?
She's on the bus.
She's on the bus.
Performing? That's brave.
Okay. Inky. More noise.
Hello. I was going to try and do a funny poem, but then I decided that was too hard and I was going to do something sad again. So I hope you have a lot of fun with this one. It's about a friend of mine who recently died. She used to stare at herself in the mirror, stretching and pulling at her skin, adjusting and readjusting strands of hair, hours spent gauging her best angles, chasing her own unachievable standard of perfection. She never went out in the daylight. It showed up all of her flaws, she said, and I lied and said she had none, and she sighed and said I knew nothing, when I knew everything, I just chose to ignore it. I remember the mornings, the afternoons, when I'd wake up and she'd be crying, and when I'd ask her what was wrong, she would suddenly smile and stroke my back and tell me everything was okay, and I would willingly fall for her beautiful mask, and though I heard the quiver in her voice, I chose not to listen. Too many were the long nights, cold, wired and addled under bright hospital lights, and each time, as I called 999, I could see the disappointment, the desperation in her eyes, because she had done this, because she wanted to die. For her, it was over, and because I needed her alive, and because I couldn't live with myself knowing that I would be responsible for her ascension, I looked into her eyes and chose not to see. Once we had gone separate ways, I, every day, expected to get that ominous call, and yet, when it came, I wasn't ready. I heard the choked-up voice at the other end of the phone, and I was there at the ceremony where they scattered her dust to the sky, and I saw blurred eyes of my friends, because I knew, we all knew, that wherever she was not here. In the world that always frightened her, and I chose not to be sad. She was not among the friends who became strangers, or covering up her fragility to keep her lover safe, or trying to end her own life, because now it had ended. Thank you.
Drum roll, please. Here we go. There's always one. Ree Thomas. Aha! Right, this person is. Found one. Not really a random picking of the hat when I've looked at all the cards, is it? Oh well. Connor Bailey. You did it!
So I'm just going to put my jeans up. Sorry. Oh yeah, get skinny jeans, Connor. Be a good idea. You look Indian cool and yeah, you look like that one. I feel as though dating Katy Perry would be easy. It wouldn't be that difficult at all. Obviously, we would have different conversation topics. Obviously, she would be like, "Oh, I've just performed in front of millions and millions and millions of screaming fans, whilst trying to keep my media image up to try and appeal to the mass media out there. But at the same time, I'm find a personal relationship, maybe a nice guy who could, love me forevermore." And obviously, I would be like, "I heard two foxes having sex last night. They sounded like an orgasming chainsaw." However, I've got in my hand a list of reasons of how easy it would be to get a date with Katy Perry. The first thing I would need to do is to get a concert ticket. And obviously, a 19-year-old, slightly more built male in a Katy Perry t-shirt, no one would think that's suspicious at all. Obviously, I would need to listen to her music for 3 hours, but if I'm supposed to be spending the rest of my life with her, that's something I'll have to endure. The second thing I would need to do is to get backstage. As everybody knows, hulking, roided bouncers, physique like a gorilla who benches constantly, they just love getting talked down by significantly physically inferior guys like me. So all I need to do is charm my way and subdue the bouncer into Katy Perry's dressing room, which will probably be filled with marshmallows and strawberry laces and all that stuff. Thirdly, after charming her with my way, she will probably demand me to take her there and then. And obviously that means sex. And it's difficult because I haven't had that since last Friday night. Or the night before last Friday night, or any Friday. I haven't had it any weekday or weekend, but that's not important. The fourth thing I would need to do is, she will obviously proclaim her undying love for me, as you do. And it might be a teenage dream at first, but then obviously the sounds of illustrious church bells will ring at a very cheap Vegas chapel. The priest will be the guy who played Raven in the children's hit TV show, Raven. And at the end, we'll have a creamy muck-muck fight. Creamy porridge is going to be splattered everywhere, going to hit everybody like a mafia crossfire to celebrate this lovely occasion. And we'll also all be naked. The fifth thing that we need to do is settle down. Obviously, she would want to go to somewhere like San Francisco, Sacramento, Los Angeles to see her girls in California. However, I'll prefer somewhere more mild, where the beer is warm and the grass is greener. That is right, Bournemouth. Some people say it's the San Diego of the Wiltshire coastline. Obviously, I'll have to go away from the beach because I hate sand and children's laughter. The sick thing that will finally happen with mine and Katy Perry's, or Cats, as I would call her, is the messy divorce after 7 years of unbridled unhappiness. Obviously, after that, I'll come back home after a hard day of knocking over arcade machines and find her making love to a woman, which in a harsh kick in the testicle twist of fate would turn out to be Pixie Lott. Obviously, I'll have a chocolate addiction by that point, so much so I can't be bothered to go up to the bathroom. So the line between Dairy's milk dark chocolate and my own feces, the line with there will be very undistinguishable. And obviously that means our children, Rory, Baxter, Michelangelo, Leonardo, Raphael, and the other one which I can't remember. Obviously they'll be taken away and get boring jobs like, I don't know, UN secretary or something like that. And in the end, she'll return to her nice, glamorous Californian lifestyle, and I'll think to myself, I wonder what I want for microwave to dinner for tonight. So I could date Katy Perry, I just don't really want to. Thank you.
Because I'm going to do a poem. Oh, thank you. We've got to find it first, so talk about she's. Oh, I found it. It was the first one. So this is something that I've dreamed for not a long while, a few months. I've been watching a lot of RuPaul's Drag Race. I don't know whether any of you have ever watched it. Clearly some of you have. For those who don't know, it's like America's Next Top Model, but for drag queens. Which, why wouldn't you want to watch that? I have one dream. Quite simple. I want to be a drag queen. Serving all the realness I have to offer. I'd be the fishiest queen in Bath. I'll cinch my waist to within an inch of its life, contour my face until there's not an angle out of place. And the outfits. I'm thinking fruit and veg based. A butternut squash dress to accentuate those curves. Grapes as my hair and a tropical fruit headdress. Oh, and bananas for heels. My dream is all well and good, but I feel like I'm back at school when I walk into the club and all the other queens look at me, throwing shade left, right and centre. And okay, I'll address the elephant in the room. I'm not a man. I don't have the trunk that I can tuck. And I've already got some pretty substantial breasts. But most of those queens walk better in heels than I do. And I'm just telling the tea when I say we're not that different. And I could do with some advice on how to sissy my walk. And my hair is still a little flat to be a queen. But the comedy queens say she's too fishy for her own good. And the fish queens say that I'm just cheating. I want to be accepted. In the diverse world of drag, why can't a girl dress up as a man dressed as a girl? I'm willing to admit it won't be an easy journey. Even though I don't have to pad my ass and hips, I still have to convince people I'm a man, a woman. I might be different to all the other queens, but who says I have to be a gay man to be fabulous? I'm coming out as a stray faux queen, and I'm proud. I hope I don't pick someone that's on public transport. transport.
Chances are like.
Sam Neill.
I'm not funny, so.
Sorry.
Cool. The moles on my back have started to itch, and my mum said that she'd watch them. In case they got bigger or darker or started to pucker, she said that she'd watch them. But when I'm with you, you don't see a single mole. I've made myself a wall out of cotton. You said you felt the stitching around the places I've been itching, and you said you felt the curves to shake my skin and break my nerves, and that you wouldn't touch them if I didn't want you to. But how sweet with these arm-length caresses, now can love over fabric truly be called precious? So I pull off the wall and leave it screwed upon the floor. I stare at the ceiling and then look longingly to the door. But you lay a kiss on that little bit over my heart, and now is a journey that you and I can both start. So you reach for your pen to draw us a map, and I ask that it finish with a mole on my back. So the moles on my back have started to itch, and you said that you watch them. And if they get bigger or darker or they start to pucker, we'll say that we've crossed them. Thank you.
Sick recovery then. Sick recovery. You're the worst of them all. That's not what the prick who nearly fell over. Look at him.
Are you okay?
Yeah, just my soul hurts. That's fine. Difficult to. It's okay, right, here we go. Professional. It's my professional face, if you can believe it. That's probably why I fail at interviews, I would have thought. Yes, I think I'd be very good for your company. So next up is Nick Compton.
Hello. Usually I do a funny one, but today it's a runty one. Dad, you are a complete and utter... That poem I wrote, hell, I thought it was good. But what do I know? You're a teacher, I'm a poet preacher. You can't handle my devices, my metaphors, my rhymes, my prices, because your son is a writer, not an electrician or mathematician, but an all-nighter street fighter. With weapons of mass construction, I'll raise your obstruction to my work. Yes, Dad, it's not always about you, but you are a complete and utter... I don't have to write what you say I should. Why should I? Own experience? Where's the fun in that? I want to write for the world, for good. Create poems that stop the killing of innocent children. Write stories that mean more than you ever think they could. I'm a warrior and defender. I'm a pirate, not a pretender like you. You leave comments for all to see. A good work or well done? No. It's never that easy with you. You, Dad, bring up some random artifact from my past, my childhood, my dreams, and turn it and twist it for your own purpose, your own lies. You treat my past carelessly, and it's all about you again. Dad, just one thing. You're a complete and utter... Life isn't just bread and butter, and I won't see my work in the gutter. Thank you.
Now that I've managed to get up here without falling. Is Rachel Hayes here? Or is she on a boat or something? I see you.
But I hope you don't get picked then, eh?
I'll pick another one. Poets are so unreliable. But some of you. I don't know if I'm getting your name wrong. If you're here, Malusi Banter. Is anyone here? Anyone? Right, I'll make another one. Ah, right. Oh, well, that's Chloe. No. That's Ree. She's on a train. Mairead!
So efficient. Great system.
That's what I get, really, shouting a lot. So this is quite angry. I'm apologising in advance. A letter to the overprivileged white boy misogynist who thought he had a right to comment on my feminist Facebook status. All I remember from history class is the plight of white men. We are taught about modern history events like World War I and World War II, but we only learned what the men did. We are not taught about the women who risked their lives and their livelihoods working with chemicals that we knew nothing about to put bombs and bullets in the pockets of boys and men so they could wage the wars the white men made. Our faces are slapped with token women like Florence Nightingale and Cleopatra. We are taught about the suffragettes and are force-fed the belief that their fight is over and women have equality. Why aren't we taught about women like Nellie Bly, whose journalism was so fierce that male editors sought after her work? The woman who practically pioneered investigative journalism, the same woman who went around the world in 72 days, not 80. In biology, we are taught about pregnancy, how it takes approximately 40 weeks from the moment of conception to birth. We are not taught about the strain that it puts on a woman's body for the better part of a year, how our organs are squashed and forced upward to make way for the ever-growing fetus, how our lung capacity can be reduced by up to 30% so we're clutching at our swollen bellies for breath. In sex education, we are taught that a man puts his penis into a woman's vagina and he orgasms. We aren't taught about the emotional implications, and we aren't taught about women's orgasms. And the only contraception we are given is latex condoms. There is an outcry when the NHS say they want to provide secondary school age kids with emergency contraception, and women are abused on their way to abortion and family planning clinics. Then we are condemned for having children before we have a proper husband to take care of us. I lost my virginity when I was 15, and I didn't know what a hymen was. I took 3 days off school, and my mother tucked me into bed and fed me painkillers and hot water bottles when she should have taken me to hospital to get stitches. But how was I to know that? Because she didn't know that either. Because we are taught that hymens are meant to break and we are meant to bleed for the sake of a man by bad porn and men's literature. In English, we are given books like The Colour Purple, Tess of the D'Urbervilles and The Scarlet Letter, then they pray to God we don't ask questions. In PE, we are taught to balance on high beams in leotards while the boys get to roll in mud playing football and rugby. Women are misrepresented and forced to be misunderstood. So, white boy, check your privilege, because we will not stop talking, shouting, screaming or fighting just because you find no fault in your education. Because I will not raise my sons to be like you, and I will not bring my daughters into this world fearing for their safety because of men like you. Just because you believe you had a well-rounded education doesn't mean the rest of us did. Consider yourself lucky to have been taught by feminist, socially aware teachers. Just because you are the exception, it does not make you the rule.
The world is falling out from underneath me.
It's the very old thing.
Be careful of that. I feel like I probably shouldn't be the person coming up now.
It's okay.
Do you want to come out instead?
No, you go.
Oh, what do you know?
Chloe.
Yay!
Actually, sorry. Okay, will we get like another chance to actually come up on stage again, or is this the one and only chance?
Depending on how much time we have and who actually turns up.
Okay. Cool.
Passive aggression.
It's very angry at people who aren't here.
I'm so sorry about this. Just one moment, guys. But I literally ran here most of the way, took the bus, and then I realised it was going the wrong way, so I had to get off and walk the majority of the way. So, yeah.
What a trooper.
Huh?
What a trooper.
It was a trip. Proper trek. That was the most walking I've done in a long time. So. Okay. Yeah, a lot of it is pretty anger actually. And I wrote one on my way here, so. Whilst walking. Texting and walking. I've got multitasking comes in handy now and again. You know what I mean? Okay. Okay. Okay, cool. I'll just go from the one that I've sort of did on my phone. Don't laugh, you guys are putting me off.
Sorry, horrible friends.
Okay. Peter Pan is the man without any plan as to when or how to grow up. I fell for his charm, but was later alarmed at the refusal at not wanting to commit. But that was my fault, I'm afraid, to admit that I wanted to see a man, but before me stood a boy. I wasn't his woman, but merely a toy. Ugh. Now at 26, a criminal record, a kid, he has yet to learn from his mistakes. So, I delete Peter Pan. Delete. Okay, so that was basically this random guy who didn't want to grow up, as you can obviously tell. And, oh my gosh, I'm so not prepared. I'm really sorry about this, guys.
Chloe, do you want to go on in the second part?
I do! I wanted to say that, and I was like, no, that's really rude. I'll read one more and then I'll just go. Okay. The consumption. Fingers circle that spot on my leg. You know, that particular spot that makes me pay attention to your movements. Our eyes lock. I urge you to continue by involuntarily moaning. You tease me by stopping, but only for a moment. You playfully bite at my neck. I'm weak as a doll. Under your spell, there's no turning back. Our kisses become heavy and intensely longer, as though oxygen isn't a necessity. We can't waste time, but make each moment, each kiss, a never-ending beginning. As he enters, my once held-in breath slowly exhales, the pleasure too great to mask. His pale, milky complexion contrasts with my dark chocolate one. But then, one night stands aren't always the best plan. And that's it.
I like how, Chloe, you were like clutching your book to you in case someone was going to steal your poems. Next we have our headliner, the brilliant Robert Garnham. He's come all the way from Paignton in South Devon, which is at the bottom of the country, for those who don't know.
Is that what it says on Google Maps?
Yep.
At the bottom.
At the bottom. At the bottom of that big bit. And he runs his own night called Poetry Island, Poetry at the Blue Walnut in Torquay. If any of you are ever down there, I suggest going to it. It's a brilliant, brilliant night. Robert also came second in the Bristol Poetry Slam. Beat me. And yeah, he's just brilliant, brilliant poet. And if you get a chance to talk to him after, he's got books and things and great talking. Better than mine. Just gonna let him come on stage now. Robert Garner.
Like the inexorable energy of the universe, humming like an electricity generator, humming like air conditioning, humming like a refrigerator, humming, feel the energy, feel the pulse, feel the rhythm. Humming like a fluorescent bulb with the starter motor gone. Humming like the hum of disapproval of an old lady seeing a drag queen. Humming like gravity, like tragedy, like a diesel engine bus. Humming like the inexplicable machinery in the hut next to the swimming pool. Humming like the indecisive purr of my aunt in a sweet shop faced with a choice of macaroons. Humming like the electricity substation next to the gents' bogs in the car park at Riddles. Humming like the central heating in my parents' house in the middle of summer. For God's sake, just turn it down a smidgen. Humming like the inexorable energy of the universe. There's a professor of literature locked in my bathroom and he won't come out. Every now and then he slides notes under the door, criticising the grammar of my medicine cabinet. The 3 shelves remind him of haiku, but there are more than 7 pill bottles on the middle shelf. He unwound the toilet roll, but he couldn't find a full stop. The shower curtain perplexes him. He says he can find no narrative in the floor tiles, though the frosted window hints at it more than it lets on, purposefully mystifying reality, like a very fine poem by Blake or Wordsworth, or that Japanese chap who killed himself. Last night, I asked if he'd like something to eat, and he conceded that he would. The gap underneath the door would fit only luncheon meat and crisps, but he ate them nonetheless. He admitted later on in his doctoral thesis that he had been quite hungry. Thank you. I think you saw what I did there. I kind of went from one poem straight into the next one without feeling the need for applause, because I mean, I'm as vain as the next person, but you don't have to clap, although it is very nice. I mean, there is, well, I've just learned some magic words today that can actually induce clapping, and they are RuPaul's Drag Race. I mean, it doesn't mean I don't want clapping. What I'm going to do, I'm going to do a poem, and then I'm going to say thank you at the end of it, and then you know it's all done. My name's Robert Garner. It's not the most exciting name for a poet, I give you that. I could have thought something more exciting, but it's too late now. I've launched into my poetry career. I thought, when I was growing up, I thought I was possibly named after Bob Dylan, because my dad was a big fan of Bob Dylan, and I thought, well, his real name's Robert Zimmerman. He called me Robert, obviously, and growing up, that was kind of a solace until I realised that my aunt worked for Roberts Radios at the time. So I'm probably named after a radio company, which I suppose is all right, because my uncle worked for Lancing Bagnall Forklift Truck Company, so it could have been worse. When I was writing this next poem, I was thinking about superheroes, and if I was a superhero, what kind of magic powers would I have? And I kind of narrowed it down to just two things I'm really, really good at. I always know when the vacuum cleaner bag is full, and I can always spot somebody with a beard. So this poem is about that. It's called Poem. People think your beard is weird, that it leans in like a mad thing. When you stroke your beard, they say it's like everything they've ever feared. Stubby chin fuzz accumulator, lunch munch jaw motion exaggerator, chinny chin chin keeps tickling while kissing, apparently. I went to the barber and I said, give me a beard, good man, make it a big bushy one like I'm an old grizzled trawlerman. Here's a prick stick, now sweep up the floor and stick it on my chin. There's a good fellow. It fell off after just one day. Last night I sat in envy at the annual beard slam. It was won by a geography teacher. I tried to pull off his beard to reveal him as a fake. I got done for GBH. I saw a man at the station selling disposable plastic fake chins. Tell me, dear chap, quoth I, have you any of the bearded variety? No, he said. I can't look at a goat. I hate the way they gloat with their nanny goat, billy goat, beard, unwarranted goatee, sprout, stroke it, big boy. I went to the circus and I saw a beard tamer cracking his whip, beard tamer cracking his whip, beard tamer, pass me the shaver, stay there boy, cutting them down into very, 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 very long sideburns. Oh my God, I want a beard. I want to be revered. I want my beard to be revered, because there's nothing more weird than having a beard and not being revered. And those who see my beard, who previously sneered in my non-beard status, now rejoice in my razor hiatus. I want to grow a beard so big it might have to be bioengineered. Fuzzy, chin scratch, scrunch up, feel it, put your hand here and feel it. Thank you. This next poem is called Poem, but it also has the alternative title of 23.5 seconds of silence followed by a slight nervous clearing of the throat. Poem. called Poem, but it also has the alternative title of Somebody's Borrowed All of the Vowels. A, E, I, O, U. I, O, U. This next poem is called Poem, but it also has the alternative title, Things I Can't Be Doing With. Number 1, puff pastry. Number 2, Morris dancing. This next poem is called Poem, but I wrote it when I was on a train. I'd come from Surrey originally, from a small village called Virginia Water. Hey, let's hear it for Surrey. And I passed through Virginia Water on the train up to London from Reading, and I thought, I'm going to write a poem while the train's in the station. I can perform it everywhere I go, and every time I do, I think of growing up in Virginia Water and just write it. And the moment train stops, leaves, I'm going to stop writing it. And it goes exactly like this poem. Oh, leafy Virginia water, how I love this next poem. Poem. Glass flan dishes from Cuba, baking dishes from Antigua, quiche dishes from the Yucatan Peninsula, measuring jugs from the West Indies, microwave-proof glass pans from Trinidad. Yes, it's the Pyrex of the Caribbean. This next poem is called Poem. This is a poem about bubbles. I wanted it to be about coat hangers, but it's about bubbles. Bubbles around and they float up and then down, and often they pop. Coat hangers don't do any of those things. Bubbles are transient and they do not live forever. They teach us that nothing lasts. Mind you, neither do coat hangers these days. I bought some from Pound Stretcher and one of them snapped. Bubbles float on the breeze and they reflect the sun in rainbow hues, resplendent, oily, iridescent, pearlescent, luminescent, fluttery, pop, pop, in a way that coat hangers can never replicate. You can't hang your jacket on a bubble. You can't wedge your wardrobe door open with a bubble. You can't use a bubble for a radio aerial on a 1985 Ford Sierra. You can't scratch your back with a bubble. You can't get a chocolate digestive out from under the fridge with a bubble. You can't have a coat hanger bath. You can't hook bubbles over the metal bar in your wardrobe. Thank you. This next poem was written for a friend of mine. He always comes around my flat and he sits in my armchair like this. And I say to him once, I said to him, why do you always just come down and sit in my armchair just like this? And he said, ever since I went bald, I miss having a fringe. So this is for him. Actually, it doesn't mention that. I don't know why I said that in the introduction, but here we go. It's called Poem. I have probed the depths of literature, but my friend Mark only remembers the one poem I wrote, the one called Plot. And it goes something like this. Plop. 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 At nights, I reach right in and thrust my hand deep into the fiery furnace of metaphor, and I grab at the human condition, and I throttle it, and I squeeze the truth out of it, and I tear the words from the sky, and I wrestle with sentences like a demon. I am the king of ink, monarch of the pen, my nib moving faster as my fingers grip the shaft of the biro, spilling onto the page beauteous visions, truth, honesty, existential angst, and what it means to be alive. And yet, Mark's favourite poem of mine is Plop, Plop, Plop. Thank you. Sex is weird, isn't it? It's so weird you wonder why you do it with another person. It always strikes me as somewhat bizarre anyway. I've done it a few times though, and this is a poem which I call Poem. It's a true story. Poem. The first time I had sex, I remember thinking, this is not the sort of thing that usually happens to me. How right I was. It put me in mind of a 13th century jousting tournament, and it gave me a nosebleed. The person I was doing it at was very patient. Very, very patient. Very, very patient. Don't worry, he said. It happens sometimes. How right he was. I remember undressing and his complexion changed and a frown overtook his features. What is it? I asked. I've just remembered, he replied. I've got to go out tomorrow and buy some extra small, bite-sized sausages. Chipolatas. As the night wore on, he suggested some role play. He was not impressed when I dressed in a giant novelty Wile E. Coyote costume and suggested he be the road runner. We decided to incorporate some food. He squirted cream on my chest and gently licked it off, and I did the same to him with a pizza. Some garlic bread, and a selection of potato wedges, washed down with a large Pepsi Cola. That's good, he said. That's very good. Oh, that's so good. Oh, I hope it never stops, he said. That's so good. Oh my, that really is most absolutely fantastic. Oh, that's good. Oh yes. Oh yes indeed. Oh mama, that's the best cup of tea I've had in a long while. He lit some candles and called it mood lighting. I watched the moths circle endlessly. I closed my eyes and tried to think about somebody else, but for some reason, the only person who sprang to mind was German Chancellor Angela Merkel. Just after midnight, I really started getting in the swing of it. I let the outside world dissipate as I found the sweet rhythm, the sensual glide of time on fate, bodies sliding with their own inexorable rhythms as the pounding whisper of oneness finally began to seem in reach, and I went for it, and I ground out my love, and I went for it, feeling everything combining the actual sensual, beautiful, exquisitely awful, ecstatic, spasmodic, sheer bliss of it all, interrupted only when he said, hey, I'm over here. Thank you. It always amazes me when people discover that I'm gay. I think it's because I don't fit the usual stereotypes. I'm obviously so macho and masculine, as you can see, although I did once watch an episode of Glee. It's time for my last poem now. This is probably my most famous one. It's got a couple of lines in it which, when I go to poetry gigs, for some reason people start shouting out to me next time they see me and put it on my Facebook wall and stuff like that. It's quite annoying, actually. Just have to say thanks for Sam for inviting me. Thanks for JB or JP or whatever he was called. He tripped over. I've got books for sale, £5. This is the poem that helped me not win the Bristol Poetry Slam, and it's called Poem. I'm going to use this book because I use it every single poetry gig I've been to, so I don't want it to feel left out. This is called Poem. I spent a night of passion with Fozzie Bear from the Muppet Show. The whole encounter was surprisingly erotic. At sensitive and pleasurable moments he had a habit of suddenly shouting, "Waka, waka, waka," which kind of took the shine off things. He kept his hat on all the time. He marked out his I'm going to belch. He marked out his territory all over the living room. He mauled the postman. He was a surprisingly good kisser. We chatted about philosophy, and he told me his belief that he was being controlled at all times by unseen hands. I told him my Uncle Sid once owned a trilby the same as his. Fozzie asked if Uncle Sid was a Muppet, and I said, no, he worked for the gas board. And then Fozzie said, you know those two old men? Those two old men who used to heckle me all the time. Do you remember them? All that heckling they did. They're dead now, the pair of them. Dead and buried. So I said, you had the last laugh. Not really, he replied. You should see the abuse I get on Twitter. I changed the subject back to Uncle Sid. With the lights off, he became tender and loving. He ran his fluffy fingers through my hair and told me he'd not felt like this since a failed romance with the Swedish chef. He took off his polka dot bow tie and knotted it round my wrist. I found it strangely erotic. Do you want to wear the hat? He asked. No thanks, I replied. Wear it, he said. Wear it. Wear it. Wear the hat. Go on. Put the hat on. Put the hat on. Put it on. Wear it. I want you to wear the hat. I want you to wear the hat. I want you to wear the hat. Put it on. Put the hat on. Put it on, bad boy. Wear it, bad boy. Wear it, stubborn muffin. Wear it, you tart. Wear it, you tart. Wear the hat, wear the hat, wear the hat. Just wear the bloody hat. I put it on and he wacka, wacka, wackered. He left before the night was over. He stole my wallet. Thank you very much.
Intermission. Congratulations, you made it this far. So, in about 10 minutes, come back, we'll have more poems. I'll come and shower you in a minute, just so you know. Come back. Yeah. Oh yeah, more do questionnaires, Sam just said. Do them and make us happy. Don't and we'll be angry. Sam will, maybe. Hmm? More or less.
Yeah. We'll write that down.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
And one more round of applause for our headliner, please.